Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that your country had sold a territory nearly 1/5 the size of the continental United States. A land overflowing with oil, natural gas, gold, seafood, and unmatched military importance. The price? Just $7.2 million. Today, Alaska contributes billions of dollars to the American economy every year. But in 1867, Russia willingly handed it over to the United States. Was it the worst real estate deal in history? Or was Russia actually making the smartest decision it could? The truth is far more complicated and far more fascinating than most people realize. This is the incredible story of why Russia sold Alaska.
When most people think of Alaska, they picture endless snow, towering mountains, massive glaciers, and wild bears roaming untouched wilderness. But Alaska is much more than that. Covering more than 663,000 square miles, it is by far the largest state in the United States. Its coastline stretches farther than the coastlines of all other U.S. states combined. It sits at the crossroads of North America and Asia, separated from Russia by only about 55 miles at the narrowest point across the Bering Strait. Today, Alaska is known for its oil fields, commercial fishing industry, strategic military bases, and breathtaking natural beauty. But before it became America's 49th state, it belonged to the Russian Empire.
Russia first became interested in Alaska during the early 18th century. In 1741, Danish explorer Vitus Bering, sailing under the Russian flag, reached the Alaskan coast. His expedition revealed something incredibly valuable. Not gold, not oil, fur. Sea otter pelts were among the most expensive luxury goods in Europe and China.
A single high-quality pelt could sell for a fortune. Soon, Russian traders and hunting companies established settlements across Alaska's southern coastline. The largest settlement became Novo-Archangelsк, known today as Sitka. For decades, the Russian-American company controlled the colony, harvesting millions of dollars worth of fur. At first, Alaska looked like a profitable investment. But beneath the surface, serious problems were beginning to grow.
By the mid-1800s, the fur trade had begun to collapse. Sea otter populations had been hunted so aggressively that their numbers plummeted. Profits shrank dramatically. Maintaining Alaska became increasingly expensive. Everything, from food and supplies to soldiers and equipment, had to travel thousands of miles across Siberia and the Pacific Ocean. Russia now faced a difficult reality. The colony generated less money every year while costing more to defend. Then, another crisis struck.
In 1853, Russia entered the Crimean War against Britain, France, and the Ottoman Empire. The war devastated Russia's economy and exposed major weaknesses in its military. After its defeat, Russian leaders feared something even worse. If another war broke out with Britain, the British Navy, already dominant in the Pacific, could easily capture Alaska. And if that happened, Russia would lose the territory without receiving a single dollar in return. So instead of risking everything, the Russian Empire began considering a surprising alternative: sell Alaska.
After the Crimean War, Tsar Alexander II faced a difficult question. Should Russia continue pouring money into a distant colony that was becoming harder to defend every year? Or should it sell Alaska before Britain had the chance to seize it in another conflict? The answer became increasingly clear. Russia wanted a buyer, but not just any buyer. Selling Alaska to Britain was out of the question. Britain was Russia's greatest rival, and strengthening the British Empire made little strategic sense. Instead, Russia looked across the Pacific to a young nation that was rapidly expanding westward, the United States. At the time, relations between Russia and the United States were surprisingly friendly. Unlike Britain and France, the US had remained relatively neutral during the Crimean War. Russian leaders believed that transferring Alaska to America would accomplish two goals at once: generate much-needed revenue and create a stronger American presence in the North Pacific, making it harder for Britain to expand its influence. The idea was bold, but convincing the United States would not be easy.
The man who believed in Alaska more than anyone else was U.S. Secretary of State William Henry Seward. Seward had a vision for America's future. He believed the United States should become a Pacific power, expanding trade with Asia and securing strategic territory before rival empires did. To many politicians, Alaska looked like nothing more than an endless frozen wilderness. No major cities, no farms, no railroads, no obvious wealth. Just ice, mountains, forests, and harsh weather. But Seward saw something different. He believed Alaska's location alone made it worth acquiring. It could serve as a gateway to Asia, strengthen America's position in the Pacific, and provide valuable natural resources in the future. In March 1867, Russian Minister Eduard de Stokel met with Seward in Washington, D.C. The negotiations moved quickly. In just one late-night meeting, both sides agreed on a historic price: $7.2 million. That's about 2 cents per acre, one of the cheapest large land purchases in modern history.
On March 30th, 1867, the treaty was officially signed. The United States had agreed to purchase Alaska from the Russian Empire. But not everyone celebrated. In fact, many Americans thought the government had made a terrible mistake. Newspapers mocked the purchase. Critics called it Seward's Folly. Others joked it was Seward's Osbox. To them, Alaska was nothing more than a frozen wasteland that would never repay its cost.
The United States had just emerged from the Civil War. Many people believed the government had far more important problems than buying an icy territory thousands of miles away. Why spend millions on frozen wilderness? What could possibly be hidden beneath all that snow? History would soon provide an extraordinary answer.
On October 18th, 1867, a formal transfer ceremony took place in Sitka, then the capital of Russian America. Russian soldiers stood in formation. American troops waited nearby. As military bands played, the Russian flag was lowered for the final time. According to eyewitness accounts, the flag became tangled during the ceremony and had to be cut free before it could come down. Moments later, the stars and stripes rose into the Alaskan sky.
With that symbolic act, an entire territory officially became part of the United States. Few people watching that ceremony could have imagined what Alaska would become over the next century. The land many had dismissed as worthless was about to reveal riches beyond anyone's expectations. And the purchase, once ridiculed as Seward's Folly, would eventually be remembered as one of the greatest bargains in American history. For years after the purchase, critics believed they had been right. Alaska seemed remote, expensive to manage, and sparsely populated. But in the late 19th century, everything changed. In 1896, gold was discovered near the Klondike region, just across the border in Canada's Yukon Territory. Although the richest deposits were in Canada, most prospectors traveled through Alaska, transforming ports like Skagway and Dia into booming gateways to the north.
Soon afterward, additional gold discoveries were made within Alaska itself. Thousands of fortune seekers flooded the region, hoping to strike it rich. Some became wealthy. Most did not.
But one thing became undeniable. Alaska was no longer seen as a frozen wasteland. It was a land of opportunity. The territory began attracting miners, entrepreneurs, railroads, and investors from across the United States. The purchase that had once been mocked was beginning to look surprisingly wise.
If gold changed Alaska's reputation, oil transformed its future.
In 1968, one of the largest oil fields ever discovered in North America was found at Prudhoe Bay on Alaska's North Slope. The discovery reshaped the state's economy. To transport the oil, engineers built the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System, an engineering achievement stretching roughly 800 miles from the Arctic Ocean to the southern port of Valdez. The project crossed mountains, rivers, and even earthquake zones.
For decades, Alaska's oil industry has generated billions of dollars in economic activity, creating jobs, supporting infrastructure, and contributing significant tax revenue. While oil production has declined from its peak, Alaska remains one of America's most resource-rich states, with substantial reserves of oil, natural gas, minerals, fisheries, and timber. Suddenly, that $7.2 million purchase looked like one of the most remarkable investments in American history.
But Alaska's true value isn't measured only in natural resources.
Its location has made it strategically important for more than a century. During World War II, Japanese forces occupied the Aleutian Islands of Attu and Kiska, the only parts of U.S. territory occupied by enemy forces during the war. The campaign to retake them highlighted Alaska's importance in defending North America. A few years later, the Cold War began.
Because Alaska sits so close to Russia, it became a critical location for radar systems, air defense networks, and military bases designed to monitor activity across the Arctic. Even today, Alaska plays a central role in U.S. national defense. As Arctic shipping routes become more accessible due to changing climate conditions, the region's strategic importance continues to grow. The territory that once seemed isolated has become one of America's most valuable geopolitical assets.
Looking back with modern knowledge, it's easy to say Russia made a terrible mistake. After all, Alaska contains vast natural resources and enormous strategic value. But history should be judged in context. In 1867, no one knew about Prudhoe Bay's oil. No one expected Alaska's future economic development. Russia faced financial pressure after the Crimean War, struggled to defend a distant colony, and feared losing Alaska to Britain without any compensation.
Selling the territory guaranteed immediate cash and prevented a potential strategic loss. From Russia's perspective at the time, the decision was understandable, even if history later made it appear costly. For the United States, however, the purchase proved transformational. It expanded American territory, strengthened its Pacific presence, and secured resources and strategic advantages that continue to matter today.
History is filled with decisions that seem obvious only in hindsight. When Russia sold Alaska for $7.2 million, many Americans laughed. Newspapers called it Seward's Folly. Politicians mocked the deal. Almost no one imagined that beneath Alaska's mountains, forests, and frozen tundra lay extraordinary natural wealth, and a location that would become central to America's security and influence. More than 150 years later, Alaska stands as a reminder that the true value of land isn't always visible at first glance.
Sometimes, history's greatest bargains are recognized only generations later. So, was it the worst deal Russia ever made? Or simply the best decision it could make with the information it had at the time? The answer depends on how you view history. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more stories about history, geography, and the decisions that changed our world, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.